Good morning. It's Chip here from Toronto. Actually, I'm just north of Toronto at an undisclosed lakeside location. Normally, I'd be enjoying the sunshine, but it's a little bit damp and chilly. Fall has arrived on Georgian Bay, and well, that's the seasons, and we get to enjoy all of them. I'm here with Gayle Zientek from Portage, Michigan, and we're here to talk about relationships, real estate, sending cards, and just being there for our people. So good morning, Gayle.
Good morning. I thought we were talking about lake life.
We can talk about that too.
This happens to be one of my favorite hats that when we bought our cottage a couple of years ago, our friend Scott and Anna came out and she says, I have a little gift for you. And it was this hat, and it's my absolute favorite hat. And so yes, here we are in I'm in the southwest corner of Michigan, but yeah, fall's here. It's a breezy day, but the sun is shining. You can see it behind me peeking through the trees. And yeah, we're going to talk because Chip and I talk often, don't we, Chip?
We do.
We talk often about, business, about real estate, about sending cards, about building an organization. And we're in a period of time where I believe it's important to not just have one, two, or even three sources of income. It's important to diversify, and you and I have been able to do that through our real estate business, through our SendOutCards, through I do a little bit of coaching, and we are building a network of people with the main goal of help people get what they want, right? And that's why we share SendOutCards. That's why we share SendOutCards with you, especially for realtors, because that's who Chip and I are. We're realtors. So a little background of me, I've been in real estate for 15 years. My husband, Steve, for 13 years. And we built a 100% referral business because we've paid attention to our relationships. And we've stayed in touch with people. People know who we are. They know what we do. They know how to find us. They trust us. And so business comes to us instead of us always going to get business. And, Chip and I wanted to talk about primarily the SendOutCards part of building the SendOutCards organization, because there's freedom in that as well. So, Chip is a senior manager. He's working to get to executive, and you're almost 3/4 of the way there, right, Chip?
I am. I'm about 73% judging by my numbers, so we're just about there.
Okay. And we're going live in your Facebook group. It's Never Just a Card, because let's talk about that. How'd you come up with It's Never Just a Card?
Well, it came up by accident, actually. I created a hashtag, and it just kind of came to me because there's always the cards. People want to see, well, what card did you send to get that sale and that huge commission? Whether it's a $10,000 commission, a $20,000 commission, or $100,000, it doesn't really matter. I'm sure it will make a difference in your life. And so sometimes I'll show them the card and they'll say, oh, that's it? Like one particular card is a picture of our lake, and it was a thank you card. Thank you for being a good neighbor. We appreciate your neighborhood watch. Somebody had done me a favor. Send it with brownies. So the card by itself isn't all that impressive, although the lake resonated with my neighbor at the lake. And so I said that to somebody. Well, it's never just a card. It's always the backstory that goes with the card and the emotions that card will raise for the person receiving it. So if it's personal to them, it might not resonate with you because it's not meant for you. So anyway, I came up with the hashtag It's Never Just a Card, and I thought, that's true. And it just kind of spoke to me. So I decided to use that.
You bring up such a great point, and I'm going to show this card. If this card got sent, hey, look, I kind of look the same.
Yeah, you do.
If this card got sent to you, you'd be like, why is this picture of Gayle on the front of a card? Yeah. But because my friend Deanna she just liked the smile in this picture, and she sent me a card. It made me smile, you know, and her message to me was just very brief, but this would not be a good card to send to any, you know, really anybody else, maybe except for my husband or my grandchildren or something like that. So you're right. It's cards can be personal, and the fact that you said, I'm going to try to block that sun. The fact that you said that, you know, people will go, well, how did you get that listing? And then they'll go, oh, that's it.
Yeah.
And you go, well, yeah, the squash lady, it was her squash. She was a Hubbard squash lady. So she needed, you know, to her, that card resonated. So you've done a phenomenal job of looking at people, seeing who they are, and celebrating their differences or their successes or whatever it is you do. And that's what I believe, Chip, has set you apart from others, in the fact that you're able to connect with people on a personal level. And when we do that, it doesn't matter who we are. When we do that, it makes a huge difference.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I enjoy making the cards, and I enjoy thinking, oh, this reminds me of so-and-so. I sent you a card recently with sunflowers, and I thought, you know, this is really cheery, and it kind of reminded me of you because you're always smiling and happy. And when I saw the picture on the inside, I thought, well, that's perfect because you share your energy with so many people.
Yeah. So I love this. And then I used this card, Chip, yesterday. Was it yesterday? 2 days ago, when I was presenting, I was hosting facilitating a conversation on a referral-based business. 3 S's to success, which are social media, your smartphone, and snail mail. And of course, you and I use SendOutCards as our snail mail. Mm-hmm. But a room full of people, and many of them, like hardly any of them had ever heard of SendOutCards before. And I said, okay, I'm going to show you an example. And I held this card. I held both of those up. I said, this one was personal to me. It's been sitting on my desk. Who do I think of when I look at this? I don't think of me. I think of Deanna, who sent the card to me. Chip sent this, and I showed him the back. I said, Chip is my friend in Toronto, who's a realtor that has like $38 million in his pipeline because he uses this and he stays in front of people. And then we joked. I said, you know, because down here in our area, it's like 200,000 is our average price point. Yours is almost like 1.6 million. So I said, Chip's 38 million is about 18 people. Ours is, 180 people. But I said, who am I going to think about if someone comes to me today and says, I'm thinking about moving to Toronto? Who am I going to think about? I'm going to think about Chip. Because why? Because Chip sends me pretty cards with sunflowers and a nice message, and I know he's in Toronto because you stay top of mind with me. Deanna's in Washington, Bellevue, Washington. I have family out there. If my family were to say, hey, we're thinking about moving to Arizona, I'm like, hey, maybe you want to talk to my friend Deanna. So utilizing SendOutCards every day just to celebrate people is really what brings about that business. And you and I think we do a pretty good job of sharing SendOutCards with other realtors to help them define, like, well, what are you looking for? What are you looking for in life and business? And then how can I help you utilize SendOutCards in that manner? Because ultimately, I was at that conference. I heard one of the speakers say there's 2,000 lead generation systems out there. 2,000. I'm like, shoot, I can't even go beyond 2. Yeah. I think of BNI and SendOutCards. Those are our lead generation systems. And they've been that way for so long. But it really depends on how you want to do business.
Yes.
Transactional or relational? What's your choice? Chip, would you rather work with people who come to you and say, Chip, I know that you're an expert in this field, and I think it's time, like just the story of the lady who checked on your house. because the door was open and she messaged you and you sent her brownies and said thank you. You weren't sending her brownies and saying thank you so you could get her listing and help her buy something for how much commission? 100 grand you made
It was
on
about
that?
100 grand, yeah.
So it's habits, right, Chip?
Absolutely.
What's your habit? What?
Well, my habit, I'm a little bit random, not very good at time blocking. It's my dirty little secret. I just, when I think of somebody, I think, you know, I need to send Gayle a card, or I want to send Gayle a card. Sometimes I'll be sitting with my laptop in front of the television, watching the news or, you know, some television late at night, and, you know, I'll send out a card or two and get them done. So some days I will send 7 or 8 cards, and some days I will send, you know, 1 or 2. But, you know, it's a habit of always sending, pretty much on a daily basis. And it's not just for business. I like to tell a little story. I have my nephew had, well, he's got 3 children now, but he had one little girl, my grandniece. And I would send Valentine's cards, St. Patrick's, Easter, because kids like getting mail, getting cards. And then I was at a wedding and her mother was FaceTiming her, and, oh, Peyton, look who is here, it's Uncle Chip. And so I said hello, and after she hung up, I said, she's probably saying, who the heck is that? Because I've only seen her twice in her life, once when she was born, when she was 2 days old, once when she was 2 years old, and now she was 4 and a half going on 5. And she said, oh no, whenever she gets one of your cards, the first thing she does is turn it over and point to your picture on the back and said, that's Uncle Chip. And so that was in May. and August, just before she turned 5, I went to see her, and I thought, well, okay, I'm a stranger to her, like she's gonna be weird, and, you know, but no, I walked in and she came running up, Uncle Chip was here, and gave me a big hug, as if she had seen me the week before. But it was all because the cards had built that relationship. So I'm always talking about relationships in business, but they build any relationship. And that's really what's all about, relationship first.
And it surpasses, it goes through the lines of all. It really comes down to the power of human connection. You know, Cody wrote this masterful book, you know, how relationship marketing is transforming the way people succeed. And you could almost take the word marketing out of there and just say how relationships are transforming the way people succeed.
Absolutely.
You know, marketing is, I go back, I've been using SendOutCards since 2007, so 12 and a half years. And we all, business owners, we all start out, oh, it's all about the marketing. You know, I got to market myself. I got to let people know who I am and where I am and what I do and how I can help them and be in front of them 12 times a month because, you know, they need to know me, and we can annoy the heck out of people. That's marketing. Building relationships is like what you just talked about with your grandniece. Like, I had a similar situation. Kelsey was my grandniece, and I would send her cards, birthday cards, put her picture on the front. And I remember going to her grandmother's funeral. My sister-in-law's mom passed away, and I walked in, and she was about 5 or 6 at the time, and she looked up and she said, you're the one that sends me cards. I didn't get the running hug like you got, but I did get that. I got that, oh, she's familiar to me. She's the one that sends me cards. So,
and that is important. When I was a kid, and I don't remember, I was probably 8 or so when I remember, because we moved when I was 8. So I remember going to the mailbox at our new house, and I had my father's cousin. She was a teacher, had never married, principal, and every year she would send me and my 3 sisters each a separate card at Christmas with, you know, $1 or $2, when $1 or $2 you could actually buy something. You know, and it was the first piece of mail that I remember getting addressed to me, you know, me as in my name and as my person. And it was really important. And every year those cards were there, and I came to, you know, look for them. So several years ago now, she turned 80, and I took her out for dinner for her birthday. And I told her how much that meant to me, and she didn't even remember doing it. And she said, oh, it sounds like something I might have done because I know kids like to get mail. And I was like, wow, that was so important to me. You know, and so I appreciated it so much. And whether I ever thanked her at the time, I don't know. Maybe I did. That part I don't remember. But, you know, it really impressed me that she didn't remember doing it. It just was a natural thing for her to do. So, you know, and I remember that. I remember that feeling of going to the mailbox and getting a card and say, I knew, as soon as I saw the return address, I knew who it was from, I knew what it was, you know, likely it was. But it was important.
So I'm going to go through the last couple days because people, and I'm going to switch a little bit to building a SendOutCards business. When I was at that event, there was 3 people that came up to me afterwards. One was a couple, and here's what they said. They said, because I shared about, you know, taking pictures from social media and sending cards. That's just part of what I do. And she says, that speaker in the morning was like way over here. You are way over here. I said, well, where do you see yourself, Summer? She goes, somewhere in the middle, maybe leaning a little more towards your end. She says, I don't know how I'd feel about taking, you know, pictures off Facebook. And I said, well, here's the difference. Everybody I take their picture off Facebook, I've had a conversation, and I've probably said, hey, I'm going to send you a card so you can see what SendOutCards, what the quality is about. And then, you know, if you want to have a conversation about it, we can. But I said, so that's the difference. It can be kind of creepy if you're prospecting somebody for SendOutCards and you think, oh, they're going to love this picture, and they have no clue of who you are and what you do and why are you taking their pictures. So I want people to be cautionary about that. But here's the progression. Kai, her husband, because they're a husband and wife team, young couple, sent me a friend request, and I accepted. And I said, hey, I really enjoyed our conversation after the event. Thank you for coming up and smiling and sharing your authentic feelings about the presentations. And I said, would you mind sharing your home address with me? Because I'd like to send you a card, because I'd like to add you to my contacts. And he did. So last night is when I created a card. I had a really nice picture of me with them. So that's what's going on the card. I'm like avoiding taking their beautiful wedding pictures. Like he's a photographer as well. I'm like, and I commented last night, I said, you have amazing photos. You're a skilled photographer. I complimented that. So I'll probably send another card with a picture that resonates with me and say, sorry, I couldn't help it. This was so cool. Just wanted to send it to you, and thank you again for sharing your talent with the world. Those are the type of things that will allow people to experience SendOutCards in a way that's not creepy or off color, or, you know, feel like their privacy's been invaded. So that was one. And then the other one was Tiffany. Tiffany, I shared a story, Chip, about taking our grandchildren on special trips. And she waited as I talked with Summer and Kai. She was waiting, and I observed her. But she wanted to say, I never had children, so I take my nieces and nephews on special trips. When you share your story, you will resonate with certain people. You don't go to a networking event to win over everybody. You go to share who you are authentically, and you will attract the people to you. And I've seen you do that over and over and over again. I said, Tiffany didn't know about SendOutCards. I said, well, come here, I'll show you. Let's take a picture. I put it on the card. She watched me send it to her. And I said, you'll get this in the mail probably Monday or Tuesday. And then that's when the follow-up happens, right? And Chip, I've watched you add people to your group like on a daily basis for a long time. So I know that it takes intentionality and it takes time on task and purposefulness to have the conversations with them. So if you're in Chip's group and you're listening right now, do you realize you have one of the top sponsor affiliates and send out cards working with you, and this is to you all that are listening and watching this, you need to listen to Chip. Chip wants you to be successful, not just in your send out cards, not just in your real estate business, but also how many affiliates did you say that you've signed up that you have in your group?
I have about 45 or so, between 45 and 50.
Okay, so you 45 to 50 affiliates that are in Chip's group, you can experience the same thing Chip and I are experiencing, which is just really sharing send out cards with others, helping them get started. We're here, we're your upline. Yeah. We're here to help you help other people get started. You don't have to, you're not in it on your own. You've got people who care about your residual income. You have, for $59 a year, have the opportunity to share this with people, help them get started, and then reap the rewards of a passive income that comes in because you've helped somebody add a system that adds value to both life and business, whether it's for your grandnieces, grandchildren, children, your brothers and sisters, just your family members, or your clients. Send out cards is that tool. It's how relationships are transforming the way people succeed. If you get the right mindset and you're sending cards from the right space in your heart out of gratitude and appreciation, people will recognize that and they'll be drawn to you. If you're sending out to get something from them, if you're actually marketing to them all the time, now there's a space where send out cards is good for the marketing piece, sending invitations to a client event, or that I consider that kind of marketing to people. But there's also, you're going to have the most success when the 80% of the time it's all about building your relationships and sharing gratitude and appreciation. Don't you agree, Chip?
I do, and thank you very much for saying that. It's very kind of you. I'm also concerned, I have 45 or 50 affiliates that have paid $59 that, some of them haven't signed anybody up. So, at the very least, I want to see everyone sign up 4 customers so they can get their plan paid for. How many marketing plans pay for themselves? As realtors, we spend a lot of money on marketing. And this is something that...
Right, like that speaker said, there's 2,000 ways, and people you see in any real estate group that say, how can I get away from spending, $1,000 a month on Zillow or whatever else they're spending money on that's lead generating to try to get people instead of attracting people to yourself.
Absolutely. So, so that's part of my concern. And I let people know that I'm here for mentoring, coaching, training, but, they have to invest a little bit of time themselves. I have sometimes people will go back and forth with questions, back and forth, over days. And it was like, what, if we spent this time, 35 minutes, 45 minutes on a Zoom call, I can answer all your questions and I can also show you what I do and, show you some examples. So, I prefer to have a collaborative relationship, which is why I created my Facebook group to build a community so that we can help each other and share ideas and share successes, hear what's working for you and how are you doing with it.
It takes personal accountability. You guys that are watching this, there's no magic pill. Chip and I aren't magic makers. We just apply what we've learned through Cody Bateman, as far as the mindset around who we are as people. Right. And then we turn that around and put it into cards, and we make it a daily habit to reach out in kindness, to celebrate people. Send Out Cards' twofold mission is help millions of people act on their promptings, reaching out in kindness, celebrating others, and to create a vehicle for financial freedom. Now, that financial freedom can come 2 ways in my perspective. It can come because you're building a Send Out Cards team and you're sharing this with others and you're getting paid, or you're using the darn system on a daily basis to reach out in kindness so that you business owners out there watching this, that you will reap the rewards of a referral-based business, or at least be top of mind with people. So those are the two ways that I see you can have financial freedom.
Absolutely. And in fact, a couple of years ago, I got a referral from New Jersey, and this person said, so-and-so referred me to you. So I sent a card and brownies thanking her, and she texted me and said, thank you so much for the card and brownies, but who is this person? I was like, I don't know. Like, he told me you referred him to me. And then we got talking. He said, well, it's his wife, so-and-so. I was like, I don't know who his wife is. So then she realized, like, with this affiliate who had, I'm not sure if she was affiliate or customer, she had only joined SendOutCards under me like 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before. It was very recent. And she said, oh, I know who he is. We were at a networking event, and we were talking, and he said he needed somebody in Toronto. And of course, I said, you need to call Chip in Toronto. He's the person. And so that was really a dividend from SendOutCards. And so, I really, think, wow, that's amazing, because that's a relationship I would not have had even a month before that, before she joined up. When you were talking about the Facebook pictures, often I take advantage of the first impressions cards, those 6 black and white cards, nice to meet you, thank you, and celebrating possibilities. I call them designer cards because they're already designed for you. A really nice front, nice paper. Inside there's a place for a photograph. I'll either take their Facebook profile picture, because that's kind of public, or their business card or their logo, depending on who they are. Or if we met at a particular restaurant, maybe the restaurant name, something that's personal. And then I'll just write a little note inside saying, it was really nice to meet you. I enjoyed our conversation, try to reference what we talked about. And I may send the card by itself, or I'll send it with brownies. And that actually worked with a builder that I work with. Met him over pizza in a pizza joint, and he gave me his card and said, please keep in touch, and you don't have to tell me that twice. So that's the card that I sent to him on the first time. And then within months, we had done that transaction. He referred me a couple of weeks later to somebody else. In fact, the person he referred me to, I double-ended that. It was a lease. He's come back to me now to release the property, so it's another transaction. And then, the relationship built over a period of months. So now we're kind of like family. And he said to me recently, because he's a builder, he said, I want you to start looking for some properties for me. I need my next project. So it all started with that one card and business card saying, please keep in touch. And, not a lot of people will take the business card, put it in their pocket, and look at it later and say, oh, who is this guy? So it just adds that personal touch.
Right. I've sent, I think, four, maybe 5 cards so far from people that I met in Grand Rapids. Mm-hmm. Just that I made a connection with. There was several hundred people there. I didn't know I knew 3 people that I'd met before. One of them was the speaker, that he's over here and I'm over here. The other 2 were the ones that introduced me to be able to actually have the opportunity to speak at this event. But it was people that I resonated with, right? That came up and had a conversation with me, that I took the extra step to say, hey, I'd like to keep in touch. Could I have your mailing address? And so I want to talk about that for a second. There was a gal who posted pictures. I've known this girl. She used to work at our office when I got into real estate, 15 years ago. Young girl, probably a teenager at the time, right? And so she posted yesterday like 23 pictures of her dog Earl, who died, like had a seizure, and it was traumatic. I could tell that it was traumatic for Amy. And I spent some time with those pictures, like, oh my gosh, that dog is that was an amazing dog. Like, it was not a Great Dane, but like big like a Great Dane. And she just shared some really intimate pictures of the life of that dog. And I knew in my heart, I just felt it, Chip. I don't feel that with everybody, but I felt that I needed to pause and send Amy a card so she could have those pictures, because I just felt her hurt, I guess. And I looked at my contact manager and I knew I had the wrong address. And I thought, you know, because sometimes we just want to show up in people's mailbox. But I thought, okay, I had two choices, right? I could not send the card, or I could message Amy and ask for her to share her address, which she did. I said, Amy, I want to send a card to you with pictures of Earl, because I can tell how sad you are today. Could you share your new mailing address with me? And she did, and she said that was really nice. So then what did I do? I went to her Facebook page, because she doesn't come up all the time, and I noticed probably 3 weeks ago she bought a house. So
Wow.
was I doing this to get her business? No. I was doing this because it was an impression on my heart that, you know, this card would have a lasting impact on her and her daughter Bailey, to have pictures in print of Earl. And I didn't even feel bad that she'd bought a house. You know, a lot of times we go, oh man, I lost out on that
Yeah.
opportunity. I should have stayed in touch better. No, it's like, follow your heart, follow your thoughts. That's what Cody talks about as a prompting. I had a prompting to pause and send a card. It wasn't for anything except for what I just explained. And
Hmm.
I think if we do that on a daily basis with people, as you're going through social media and you see your friends experiencing life moments, pause to acknowledge them, maybe send them a message or comment, and then, you know, you've got the most incredible system in the world to create a lasting, tangible impression through send out cards.
Absolutely. I laugh when you're talking about the mailing address because I get that question a lot. How do you get their address? And I was like, well, I ask. You know, it's really not that hard. I've never had anyone say no ever. I just say, could I get your mailing address? And I've only had two people ask me why. And I said, because I want to send you something, which is kind of obvious, if, you know. And they go, oh, okay. And you know, the one guy was a drywall taper guy, you know, working on my basement. And he called me, I sent a card, thank you card and brownies with him working, thanking him for doing such a good job. And he called me almost in tears. And it made me realize, thanking me profusely, made me realize that people don't often thank people like that. You know, they'll complain if they didn't do a good job because they're paying them, you know. And so, yeah, I just ask. And maybe it's the way I ask. You just have to be confident, you know, not like, oh, geez, is it possible for you to give me? No, no, no. Could I get your mailing address? You know, just like that. And no one's ever said no. In fact, one of the people that said that to me, I was doing a Zoom call. And a few minutes after that, I said to her, could I get your mailing address? She gave it to me. And I said, when's your birthday? And I was filling out the contact manager. She gave me her birthday, and I said, see, it's not that hard. You gave it to me very willingly. And she started laughing. Okay, you made your point. So, you know, it's really
Right. And so follow that. I was in Las Vegas helping my stepmom transition into senior living, and my friends, our friends Bob and Betty Ann Golden, invited me to a concert on a Monday night. I think it was Monday. It was Labor Day. Monday night at 10:30 is when it started. But it was a good diversion for me, right? And of course, with Bob and Betty Ann, you get front row seats.
yeah.
I like Bob leaned over and said, Gayle, if we were any closer, we'd be on the stage. And I
Yeah,
said,
that's
you're
right.
right. Perfect opportunity to, I was taking pictures, and I took some pictures that got the attention of the band members. And I remember got a message from the guitar player, Elvis Lederer. And he said, hey, Zoe Bowie really likes your pictures. Could you email the higher resolution pictures so that they can use them and they'll give you credit for it? I'm
Mhm.
like, sure. Yeah, I don't have to give me credit. It was just a cool concert. But then, so now I'm in contact with Elvis, right? The guitarist. I said, man, thank you for sharing your talent, your inspiration, because he's also the guitarist for the Blue Man Group. He strings. So, you know, he plays in the big show, and then he plays for Zoe Boy Band. And And I asked him, I said, hey, Elvis, could I have your mailing address so I could send you these pictures in a card? I said, I promise I won't stalk you. And it
Yeah.
was, like, you have to have fun. And he said,
Yeah.
well, my wife and my dog wouldn't let you stalk me.
Yeah.
And so, but what now? He received the card. He said, thank you for the awesome card. So are we connected at a different level now? Like if I go watch Zoe Bowie, might I have more confidence to just have a conversation with Elvis and say, hey, remember me? I'm that girl that sent you that, card
Absolutely.
back on Labor Day. So that's what we can do. And just have confidence. If there's people that you need to celebrate, pause and celebrate them. You don't, without expecting anything in return. And Chip, you and I get this all the time. Well, I've sent 10 cards and nobody's even acknowledged them. I'm like, give that up right now. If you're really feeling that way, then you're sending to get. You're
Yeah.
sending to get a response. You're sending to get business. You're sending to get. I send an average of 8 cards every day.
Mm-hmm.
I might hear from 3 people a week.
Right.
Someone might post something on Facebook, or we might get a text message thanking us for a card. If I allowed the lack of response of sending the cards, 12 and a half years later, would I still be sending cards? No. 12 and a half years later, would we still be operating a referral-based business? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know that I let it go. Chip, do you expect to hear from everybody?
No, I don't. Although, we are human. Sometimes it's like, oh, you want to hear from them because, you put your heart into it. So I understand, but like you said, you have to let it go. When I bought my first house, I hired a young busker, a young man who was playing on the street. He had a violin, a classical kind of music, kind of classical with an edge. So I asked him if I could pay him to come and play at my housewarming, and he did. And he turned out he was younger than I thought he was. He was only 14. He was in 9th grade. So he played, and that was great. And I had lots of pictures. So I was so impressed with him because he was a recent immigrant. He was completely self-taught. 5 years before, he didn't even speak English. And he was living in kind of a rough part of town where kids often get into trouble, So I decided, here's somebody who's really doing something with his life. He's 14, look at what he's done. So I called the local newspaper and suggested they do an article on him. And that article got him discovered. And here we are 20 plus years later. And he plays all over the world, all over Europe. He's played palaces in Europe. He's opened for Cyndi Lauper. He's played with lots of big names. So he invited me to his birthday party. He was turning 35 a couple of years ago. So I put the picture from when he was 14 on the front, and then pictures from his birthday party turning 35 on the inside, and said, what a ride it's been. And of course, at the party, he took me around and introduced me to everyone there, saying, Chip is the one that discovered me. I was like, wow, talk about changing lives.
I'm like getting goosebumps right now.
So,
That's
but you know what?
awesome.
I sent the card and brownies, and I didn't hear anything, and I was kind of like, oh, it's like we're human, right? So I wanted to know what he thought. 6 months later, I bumped into him. He said, "Man, that card was so wild. I just love it. It's a special place in my apartment, and whenever I come home, I see it." And I was like, "Well, it did make a difference, but it's their timeline. It's not ours." And so there's a lesson there. So thank you for bringing that up.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
so listen, I mean, you and I could go on and talk for hours about this, and we might lose people.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been going on for about 45 minutes.
That's right.
But I hope that people will realize that it's a daily progression. It's the habits that you create today that will carry you through the rest of your career, the rest of your life, are important. And Chip and I are here to help you build a SendOutCards business. We're here to help you have a successful business, whether it be in real estate or whatever your business is, because that's what you all need. You all need to read this book. It's great on Audible too, because Cody narrates it. And this is Cody. this is broken into 3 parts. This is broken into relationships, relationship marketing, and what that looks like. It's broken into marketing, how to market to people, the 80-20 rule, and it's personal development. I want you to know that the most important part of this book is the personal development part. It's not who's done what with what they've got. It's not my story on page 36. It's start back here. Find the best version of you, because when you find the best version of you and you give yourself away, you can have everything from the first 2/3 of the book.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for spending time this morning, Gayle. It's always great to hear your advice and your experiences with SendOutCards, because you've been in this for a long time, and it certainly has given you great opportunities and opportunities to live the good life and have time to spend it with your friends, family, and colleagues around the world.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So everybody, wherever you're at today for us is September 14th, 2019. I'm in Michigan. Chip's in Toronto.
I'm in Georgian Bay. I'm just north of Toronto. That's right.
And we're here to serve you. We want to help you get what you want in life, because if you help enough people get what they want, you have everything taken care of for yourself. So reach out. Let us know. How can we help you get what you want in life?
Thanks very much, Gayle. I'll talk to you soon, and great advice. We appreciate it.
All right.
Bye-bye.